Oh, he's still sunny side up most of the time, but he's hard-boiled when the going gets tough. What's on your mind tonight? Call now, 521-TALK, 521-8255, to get online with Nick at Night.
We'll talk to Tom. He's up next. Hello, Tom.
Yeah, hi, Nick.
Hi, Tom.
So this global warming is causing the extreme cold we're experiencing.
Yeah, that's right. Now, how many people died in, was it Bangladesh, 35 or 40 because of the cold?
Well, in Kashmir, in northern India, many people, and especially elderly and children, are dying of hypothermia.
That might be what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, and it's sad because they don't have home heating at all.
No.
And yet they're getting like minus 10 degrees.
And they are also a little short on parkas and winter boots.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's sad because the White House, Dr. John Holdren, President Obama's science and technology advisor, they put out a video explaining that as a consequence of recent global warming, which of course isn't happening, we're seeing these outbreaks of cold weather throughout the United States. And his theory, and this is the theory officially by the White House and of course by many media on that side, is that as the Arctic warms, you have a weakening of the circumpolar vortex around the North Pole, and therefore the cold air from the Arctic can come down into the south. But I wanted to read you a quote from Time magazine from June 24th, 1974.
Okay.
This was towards the end of the global cooling scare, okay?
Okay.
Scientists have found other indications of global cooling. For one thing, there's been a noticeable expansion of the great belt of dry, high-altitude polar winds, the so-called circumpolar vortex.
So they weren't even clever enough to come up with a new name.
Yeah, so it's hilarious because it doesn't matter whether it's getting, whether it's global cooling or global warming, the weakening of the circumpolar vortex caused by fill in the blank.
That's right.
And, the whole idea that the circumpolar vortex weakens and cold air comes down from the north, that happens periodically, independent of whether it's warming or cooling. So, I mean, we really have to look at this stuff more realistically. Even the IPCC, the UN climate body, they said this: there is likely to be a decline in the frequency of cold air outbreaks, in other words, periods of extreme cold lasting from several days to over a week, in the northern hemisphere in most areas as global warming continues.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And when do these rocket scientists say that?
Well, it's amazing because now the White House is actually saying the opposite of what they say is the strongest source of climate science, and that is the UN IPCC. And if you look at the other side, actually in this case they agree, the non-governmental International Panel on Climate Change, and you have it there actually in your studio, the new one.
That's right.
1,000 pages. They say on page 818, they're talking about research that was done at 876 locations across the southwestern United States between 1931 and 1977. And they found that during that period, that's a long time, 31 to 97, that's like 66 years, they found no changes in the frequency of intense cold or warm events. So the fact is the evidence just is simply not there, and yet they just simply make it up. I suppose if this was a hot winter, the circumpolar vortex would be weakening and as a sign of global warming. It doesn't, and that's where you start to say this isn't even science anymore. Usually the evidence, when it changes, you would, hopefully change your opinion on the science.
Well, that's good science, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. But like during the 1962 to 63 winter, again, right in the middle of global cooling, Miami experienced minus 12 degrees Celsius. And most of Europe was so cold that the average daily temperatures were typically 4 degrees Celsius lower than, and of course that was all a sign of global cooling. So the bottom line is that this year's cooling, if it continues for quite a lot longer, yeah, it would be a sign of global cooling, and that's a far more serious threat.
Yes, and that's the part I think that people, let's face it, look at just this last winter, just as an example. I heat my home with both propane and wood, and I've gone through a lot more wood this year than I did even last year. And the propane, the same thing. And
it's especially bad in places like the United Kingdom. The UK National Statistics Bureau, they released the numbers of deaths due to winter cold weather last year, because it was very cold in England last year as well. And they said there's an estimated 31,100 excess winter deaths in 2012 to 2013. That's roughly a 30% increase from the previous winter.
And that's probably elderly who can't deal with the cold nearly as well as someone younger.
Yeah, and the sad thing in England is that they've turned off their least expensive source of electricity, and that is coal-fired power. So at the very time when they need cheap and very reliable electricity, they've turned off their most reliable source, and that is coal. And of course we did that in Ontario. They're trying to do that across Canada. This is exactly the opposite. If we are headed for global cooling, and nobody knows for sure, then we want to keep our coal stations, that's for sure.
Yeah, of all the stations you want to keep, because you're going to need lots of that power.
Oh, yeah, for
It's a lot harder to heat a home than it is to try to keep it cool.
Well, I mean, think about it. Geologists call warm periods optimums, and they call cold times dark ages. That's when civilizations collapsed, and largely because they didn't get ready for it. So we have to turn our coal stations back on. We have to bury cables underground, do all the sensible things that you should do. But the idea that we control it and we know what's going to happen, it's just silly stuff.
Yeah. All right, Tom, appreciate the call as always.